We're waiting to hear more from the Trump administration about its targeted immigration operations in Minnesota. That's after people in handcuffs were spotted boarding a chartered plane at Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport on Friday. Flight data shows the aircraft came from a Louisiana airport involved in deportation operations. Joining me now to discuss is Jaylani Hussein, the executive director of the Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CAIR. Thank you for being with me. Let me start here with what you know about the footprint of this ICE operation, what you're hearing from people, obviously the largest Somali American community in the country.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We knew coming into this operation that they would actually be harassing U.S. citizens, since we know majority of Somali Americans are citizens. In fact, the majority of the population is actually born in the United States. And so we knew that that was going to happen. We heard officially 5 Somali Americans have been put into this process only after, I think, nearly a week of this operation. And, we know for sure that this is something that will continue because of the fact that most Americans obviously are not aware of this, but the majority of Somali Americans are actually not documented and U.S. citizens. And so that's why it's failing miserably. We've also heard on the ground that people are being injured. We had a report of a Somali woman that was sexually assaulted by ICE agents who is a U.S. citizen. And so exactly what we predicted is happening right now.
Of course, this is all coming after the remarks we heard from the president last week, calling Somalis garbage, not making any distinction, not that it's better even if he had, between undocumented people or Somali Americans, supposed to be a president for all Americans. How has that resonated? How has that been received in the Twin Cities?
Well, initially it's been a shock and disappointment, but since then we've received support. Somali Americans themselves are reacting and responding to this. And I think overall it has unleashed even a bigger support for the Somali American community. And I think in this moment, it's a chance for Somali Americans to talk about their experience. I came here into the United States in 1993, and it's been 30 plus years now. Minnesota is home to me. I sound like a Minnesotan. I talk like a Minnesotan. I deer hunt like a Minnesotan. And Minnesota has been also enriched by our beautiful culture. Somali Americans have worked really hard in factories, and now their children are engineers and doctors and everything else. And that is the reality. We're telling our story, and this is a great opportunity to experience that. And that's something that the president probably did not respond or did not expect. And it's been interesting also to see how young Somali Americans are reacting on social media.
Yeah. I spoke with a man named Salman Fiki on my show yesterday, a Republican there who endorsed the president, campaigned for him, held groups of Somali leaders to tell other Somalis there in Minnesota to vote for the president. He said that after what he heard from President Trump, not only did he no longer support the president, he disassociated himself with the Republican Party. Those inroads that Trump made in 2024, how much has this last week impacted those inroads that the Republican Party and the president himself had made into the community?
Significantly, I think. Somali Americans are just like everybody else. They're not monolithic to a specific political party. The overwhelming majority vote Democrat. But there has been a surge of increase of voting for Republicans, including Tom Emmer's district, which significantly have voted for him in the past. And it's been very unfortunate. Republicans in the state of Minnesota have been aware of what's been going on in Minnesota, including these incidents of fraud. And they're rightfully so to target those individuals who committed that crimes and the responsibility laying on them. But also when President Trump attacked our community unfairly and racially and disgusting in a way they championed that instead of, speaking against that. So far in the state of Minnesota, we have one Republican who has actually said something positive. It's been very disappointing, but this is the reality. And the Somali American community, especially in Minnesota and in other parts of the country, have a significant voter block. And I think that will impact significantly both in the midterm elections and we expect even in 28.
All right. Jaylani Hussein, thank you so much.